for our audience right now, this is our sneak peek for the next season. Actually, it's not so much of a sneak peek. We wanted to talk to you about this.
Yes.
June and I wanted to tell you that what we're doing is something a little bit different. June is, as everybody knows from this incredible digital extravaganza that Music in the Morning has gone into, that she's our new executive producer. And I welcome this because, and it was such a natural falling in, because when I started as artistic director of Music in the Morning, what I did was I just went straight to June, and we've been working together this whole time. I love learning about what you've done, June,
Well, you call me the living archive.
living archive.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. It's the way it is. And so I think that when we're talking about this season, people can really get a sense of that rhyming pattern with how we started this, and where Music in the Morning had started, and some of the big feats that have been achieved by the organization, and how we're coming back to that as we come roaring back post-pandemic.
Well, you've got a brand new idea coming up in September, though. Let's hear about September first off, okay?
Well, one of the great things, and I actually had a couple of graduate assistants when I was at OU at the University of Oklahoma look into this. And it's true, there has been, right now, there's no evidence of any other music, a morning music series that had the same program for consecutive days ever. Right. And it's because of the way that we organically built this audience, this community, June. And they came in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It expanded to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then there was a Saturday show. And so you can probably see where we're going with this. So when you say it's a new idea, June, it really is what I think my role is here, is to build on the great momentum that has been created here in Vancouver over 35 years ago. And so what this is, it's a residency. It's always been sort of a residency, right? One of the great shining moments was when I saw our great Kalmus ensemble come and sing these shows in the morning, but then in the afternoon, and the evenings, helping some of our partner organizations like the St. James Academy, or singing for their fundraiser, or Kalmus coming in and singing for the Union Gospel Mission, or working with Health Arts Society, like to be able to build out this, it was kind of like a mini residency, wasn't it? So what we're doing this year to start, and the reason we thought of this, June, we had this ready for last September, but it just, with public health regulations, it wasn't going to happen. We have Timothy Chooi, who has agreed to come, and at the time, had he needed to, agreed to stay for 2 weeks before to do a quarantine so that everybody could be safe, and then he would be with us for 2 weeks. The first, it's essentially just smashing together 2 months of concerts, like our normal monthly concerts, 1 week in September, 1 week in another month, and just putting it together. So there's a 2-week residency. Timothy Chooi has an incredible program. He's going to play a solo violin work and a piece with violin and piano for the first week. During this entire time, he'll be rehearsing with some Canadian and local musicians and building out a larger mixed chamber ensemble program for that second week. So you get to see this, and he'll talk with us for noon with June's for our jam sessions. You're going to get a sense of all this stuff digitally, and we want to welcome all of you, because this residency means that from Monday to Friday, we'll have 2 shows each morning. That means that if public regulation means that we can only have 50 people in the hall, we're able to accommodate everybody by doing this kind of set. So Timmy has agreed to play all these concerts, and I think it's going to be an incredible time. One more piece of news, right, June? We're at a venue that everybody knows and loves, and we're not going to move from that venue during this entire public health regulation.
Okay, now just tell me in detail how it's going to work. So they walk in the door.
Well, I love that you mentioned that, because I think it starts before they walk in the door. We're going to be at the Vancouver Academy of Music. So many of you will feel, oh, that's great, right? Because it's going to be at them, and the parking is going to be there, and you're going to walk in, and that first day, what we're hoping to have is no rain, but if there's rain, we're going to have provision for it. But you're going to get your coffee, you're going to get your tea, you're going to get, in very safe, little cellophane wrapped, I think maybe it should be wax paper, whatever recyclable, whatever is more environmentally friendly. I know that matters, right? Like to have Sheila's incredible cookies in these individually
Wow.
wrapped things. So you can get a sense, it'll be everything you know and love about music in the morning, that community aspect, those treats, the coffee, seeing people, and all outdoors. So that it can be safe, that there's nice ventilation, and you can have your treats. And then we will enter into this space with a little bit of checking and certain things that we need to do. But by this time, I think the entire Vancouver community will used to the kind of things we have to do a little bit extra when we enter into a public space.
Yeah.
And then we will seat, of course, with the physical
How
distance.
many? How many seated?
Well, right now we think it's going to be 50, but that might grow. So everything is so uncertain the way that's moving, right? Like we're getting reports that there might be an increase to the number, but we can't say. But what I can say is what we think is for sure is the regulation right now is 50.
Mhm.
So it's going to be 50 people. So about 49 of your other friends will be entering, and then we'll get this all done. And
Well, you
we
know,
just
Adrian, in Vancouver now, we're really used to things changing. I mean, one day they said the restaurants are closed inside, and then 2 days later they're open, and this highway's closed. You can't leave your your coastal health place. So we're very used to it. So if you come and they say, "Oh, there's whatever," we can manage. We're used to managing this. I think everybody in the COVID is. There's no static thing, you know.
good.
One vaccination's good, two is better. You know, it just goes on and on. So I think you're as prepared as we can be for
Great.
opening
Exactly.
really in person. Who would have
What I
thought of
love, June, is that Timothy Chooi, who's like this bona fide star right now, he was just appointed as one of the youngest violin professors in our nation at the University of Ottawa. He's touring all over the place with like at the Berlin Philharmonie and like just the concertos and solo recitals. His star is rising so quickly. And that he's going to spend 2 solid weeks with us and working with artists that our community knows, Canadian artists, and I think it's just an incredible way of welcoming people into that warmth of music making, of that kind of chamber musicianship, of that kind of musical conversation from that stage. I think it's a great way of welcoming in new voices, right, and
well, I
to
think it's
and have everybody come together the way that we used to as a community.
I think it's just great, just great. And remember, Timmy was the first, am I right in this? He was the first person that when you came to be artistic director, he was our first performer, was he not? He did it at Ryerson.
I think you're right. I think you're right. He and Jeannie Chung were playing. That's right. That was a wonderful
Oh,
set of concerts.
wonderful. Very nice person too, very
Yeah.
communicating.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's just brilliant. What a start. Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's going to be great.
we'll be developing all sorts of little side
Yeah.
things as we
And
go.
the other thing is that Timmy Chooi is a BC artist, right? Born, raised in Victoria, and so there's something to trumpet there. I can't wait to tell our audience more as we share some of the program details. That is August 30th to September 12th, right? So that there's this 2-week chunk that we invite everybody to come. I think that the reason why the residency is exciting has artistic integrity to our organization, but it's also really good for our health regulations, that we have somebody that's here that's willing to quarantine from before, that's going to be here and invest in our community. I think there's some very beautiful things that can happen.
Well, I agree. And imagine offering to quarantine for 2 weeks. I mean, before his 2 weeks gig. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So should we move on to
Yes.
October?
Yes. So October 18th to 22nd. Also, all of this is at Vancouver Academy of Music. We have another BC artist, Jamie Barker. So Jamie Parker, and we were talking about when we first came in. When I was first announced as artistic director, I was invited also to play in Summer Music Vancouver, and Jamie and I played Spiegel von Spiegel, which was a beautiful work by Robert Parrott, and I had a lot of fun with Jamie. And Jamie, the pianist of the Griffin Trio, uh, just is a fantastic character,
Yes.
fantastic person, incredible in terms of he has an avuncular relationship with an entire generation of musicians around the world, chamber musicians around the world. He has an incredible position at the Banff Center, and has been an early, friend to the Off the Hour Quartet, and to, like, I'd say hundreds of musicians. And what I noticed, I saw Jamie Parker in Perry Sound, and play a solo recital. And he played the solo. It was beautiful, like not a note out of place, and everything with such an incredible narrative arc through this entire recital. And then in the middle of the recital, he was about to start his next piece, and someone said to him, "What's your favorite musical work to play?" And he paused, and everybody's shocked that it happened. And then he turned, and you can see on his face, it was so generous because, although you don't usually talk to the artist right before they're about to play or in between movements or things like that, Jamie could see that this person really just was so taken and so enthralled, and just blurted it out just because they felt that they were so in a certain communication with him. And he did this, he's a very funny guy. He just raised an eyebrow and said, "The next piece." So
Oh, that is so Jamie, isn't it?
it
That
is,
really is.
yeah.
Oh, he has such a history with the Vancouver Academy of Music and Kerner Hall.
Yeah.
I heard him there when he was just a young boy.
Really.
And I've always followed his career, and so happy that he's done so well. That's a
Yeah.
great choice, Adrian.
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, yeah, I a big fan of him, so I'm happy that he's coming. And what's terrific about this is that this is a special treat. A lot of times people hear Jamie with the Griffin Trio, who are amazing, but to hear him in solo recital, to hear the breadth of his artistry and what he's chosen to play, I think is going to be great. He'll speak from the stage and share hilarious and touching stories, as everybody knows. The next month, this is November. November, we have Geoff Nuttall and Livia Sohn. This married couple, Geoff, as everybody knows, is the first violinist of the St. Lawrence String Quartet. And you obviously know Livia as well. Livia was a soloist, an incredible chamber musician. She's also associate artistic director with Geoff over at Spoleto. And they're going to curate an incredible week-long residency of concerts as well. And it's going to be special. There's going to be a new commission. There's going to be stuff, and there's going to be other artists that they're bringing in from the local community to play incredible chamber music. What I love about Geoff is one time we were playing a sextet together. It was the Strauss Capriccio sextet. And we started playing, and he was just like, "You know what? I just feel like this is a warm bath." Just thinking, what I love about Geoff is he brings us into a world of physicality, of touching music or experiencing music in its fabric in a different way that helps us enter into what he might be feeling. And Livia and he work so well together, and they're going to be, it is exciting. I can't wait to share more about these program details. But that's going to be November. And the program details, why I don't want to get into too much is because right now we're still working out with some of the public health regulations, right? With some of that still up in the air, we have to look at rehearsal spaces and how many people we should have, right? So right now it could be it's going to be mixed in terms of its players. There's going to be Geoff and Livia and a mixed ensemble, but depending on how many people we can safely bring into the room, because how many people you have on the stage is how many people we can actually have in the room. So unfortunately, if we had a 16-piece orchestra, there's only going to be 34 people of you for each show. So we're trying to check this stuff out. So I'm not being coy on purpose or mysterious, because my personality is not mysterious. But there's a reason why I'm saying this. But what what I can guarantee is it's going to be great. It's going to be this wonderful connective type of performance that we know that Geoff and Livia bring. And then January 10th to 14th, 2022, we're going to skip December because actually, June, you should share something about this because Music in the Morning from the beginning, when we first started, didn't we skip December's?
Yes, an awful lot of festive stuff that happens in Vancouver. Messiah is done 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, and
Yeah.
so I didn't. But so we're sort of putting it that way again.
Yeah,
But
and one of the reasons I wanted to bring
January,
that up was also because if December, we have a little bit of an opening there, it's obvious because when we were trying to plan for COVID, we wanted to make sure people could quarantine. So then Timmy was here for 2 weeks, meaning that we had to take away from one of the other months. Now, December is also because we have a wonderful chair, Christine Chooi, who is an emergency room doctor and has been an incredible voice for us in our board meetings, telling us about how things might be going. We thought December might be a good time to not have a public performance in a communal aspect, just because, historically December, when it gets really cold, people start getting colds.
yes.
And we just wanted to make sure that didn't conflate with anything in terms of fear of joining a large public group when there were people who had colds and coughs, and whether that might be conflated in any way with COVID-19. So we thought, okay, let's reset a little bit on December and jump straight to January, which I thought had a wonderful historical rhyme for what you had shared with me, June, as the living artifact of how we had first done things the first 10 years with no December concerts.
Well, Anagnoson Kinton, the piano duo,
Yeah.
were Music in the Morning's first out of town people. And I saw a piece in the paper about them in the Globe and Mail. And in the first season, I realized that this is going to be a success, Music in the Morning. So, as I went right along planning the second season.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So I phoned up. I forget the whole process, but anyway, got to talk to them, and so they came out. And Jim stayed at our house. I mean, he and my teenage sons had great time staying up till 2 a.m. watching television, which I never would let them do. And it was a joy to have him. We've remained friends ever since with the both of them. They're wonderful musicians, and they have the most hilarious stories about traveling through northern Canada. I mean, they have really crisscrossed Canada many, many times. They used to, in the early days, pack their Yamaha pianos with them in a truck. They would actually drive their truck with the pianos, and hopefully have some men that would help them put up the pianos when they got there.
That's right.
And so they're very good musicians, always had great conversations. Is a piano duo chamber music or is it solo? And so, because if it's solo, they have to memorize everything.
I think what's great about them is that whether they have music or whether they don't, I don't know that I could even remember. That's how connected they are together. In fact, when you mention that, I almost feel like maybe they don't play with music. And yet, if they had a sheet of music in front of them, it wouldn't seem like they've ever look at when they're playing. It's not like they're looking at. There's some kind of connective tissue out of the decades that they've been playing.
Oh, isn't it the eyebrow? I watch if I'm sitting in the audience and I can see Jim and he looks over and an eyebrow goes up. I'm thinking, okay, did you see that, Leslie? Are you playing too loud? Or they're in such sync, and they're such lovely people. I mean, they're really they practice all the time. They never.
Well, speaking of warm baths, June, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get them back sooner than later. And it's been about 2.5 years since they've come, but I think that many of our audience might think that they were just here because of how present their impact was and their music making was, their stories. Yeah, they're just fantastic. And what I thought would be nice is in the midst of some newness, right? The newness that we're bringing in terms of this new residency with Timothy Chooi and with Geoff and Livia coming out and curating a program for us, that we might, and Jamie Parker coming to do a solo recital with us, that it might be interesting to actually have James Anagnoson and Leslie Kinton back, because I just saw how the audience in our entire community just is at ease with them, you know, and it might be nice to try to bring back a sense of that kind of normalcy, right?
Yeah.
That's the one concept that I'm not going to try to add any kind of innovation to, that this would just be, this is how it was from before. We should probably move to February, June. February, this is going to be new. Now this is February 7 to 11, and this is going to be fresh off the press because we have the Grammy Award-winning Third Coast Percussion, and these guys, wow! I heard them. I was giving a lecture in Hong Kong, and they were the featured artist of this festival, and I went to see them, and I have to tell you, I've never ever seen a percussionist phrase so beautifully. Like it was really like all four of them are so insane. They're consummate chamber musicians, and this is coming from a string quartet player that just really loves hearing other people really be able to understand how their phrase changes other people, and they're tapping like with their fingers on a cymbal, and that it is the most musical performance from chiefly percussion instruments I've ever had in my life. So when I heard them, I said, I got to get them in Vancouver. And I was thinking, okay, no time like the present. Let's get them.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And that's amazing.
I got to tell you, and they're so warm. Like when you see them take the stage, they take the stage in a way that many people will like how the Cowmoose take the stage, but they take the stage and they have so much joy in their faces when they're playing. Like it is just, here we get to do this again and for a new audience. So especially in a situation where we might have to do 2 concerts a morning, 5 days, like it's just going to be like, I want musicians that really would embrace the fact that I get the chance to play for a smaller group of people in this intimate setting and do it 10 times. Like I love that.
Gosh, and you know, we'll learn so much. I mean, I don't think people know that much about percussion. I mean, I think that's why Stomp, that percussion group that was so popular, because that was really cool. Anyway, this is like a
surprise and delight, wasn't it? Like, okay, I understand. I played the tambourine. Like I've shaken that thing. Like, and wow, he made that sound gorgeous. Like, how does that work, right?
I know.
So I can't wait.
Amazing, you got them. Amazing. Wow.
Well, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that. And I thought, just in terms of our COVID thinking, later in the season would be, when everybody is coming out of this and understanding what's needed in the vaccinations. They are an American group, and the only American group that we're really having. And then to finish the season, we have March 14 to 18. And do you remember like when James Campbell, our the clarinetist for Summer Music Vancouver, came down and he played that klezmer music, and like just the amount of energy he brought. He is, as many of our audience knows, Jim was the guest clarinetist for the Amadeus Quartet, and he sat in for Benny Goodman, and he has toured with almost every established string quartet. He was the first one to play the Brahms Clarinet Quintet, the Mozart Clarinet Quintet with the Young St. Lawrence String Quartet. And he's been bringing Canadian quartets into that clarinet quintet repertoire for generations, because he was one that brought the Afiara into that piece and taught us what to do and what interesting places, what corners to take. And Jim is just such a nice guy, and he's going to close out our season with a special group of musicians as well.
And I would love it if you'd play with him. Can we program you on the brochure? Okay.
Well,
please.
This is how it happens, June, right? Okay, because you said so, it's going to happen. We will probably program that the last thing that we play. Maybe I'll join Jim on stage.
Yes, please.
And maybe we'll do a duet. Maybe we'll add another player, and we'll play a beautiful work to send us off.
Well, I think that's the best idea.
Great.
Well, I can hardly wait. I think it's just going to be just a smash season. Wonderful.
Thank you,
Great
June. Well,
stuff.
June, one of the things that we should probably just talk about is that when people are looking at the subscription, at
Yes.
what's in front of them, we haven't forgotten that we had to cancel one concert from the Summer Music Vancouver. Uh, we have June, Barry and I, we have a special treat for you, which we will program into the season. We might do it during the summer, or we might try to actually just squeeze it into an April or something like that, right, June? Like we're going to give you that extra performance that we owe you, and we're going to do, and it's going to be the Stephen Prutzman arrangement, and we're going to have a lot of fun. What would be really fun though is if we were able to tie whatever you and I and Barry might do into a
Yes.
summer festival.
Well, what can I say? We're on air. I mean, it's pretty, I guess, sure.
Well, here it is, June.
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Thank you.
we also we have something cooking. We're cooking something that we're going to share in about a month's time,
Yeah.
that with another partner, with somebody that can really help us bring this to another level. But it harks back to almost 20 years ago.
Mhm.
20 years ago when we were doing larger productions of certain things, and it's going to be a central piece of this summer festival. So that is what your subscription is gonna take on. There's a little bit of surprise. There's a lot of planned surprises, let's call them planned delights.
Yes.
But this is the general roadmap
Wonderful.
of the season.
Well, wonderful, Adrian. And you'll be out, will you, in September?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I can hardly wait to see you in person.
I know. We haven't seen each other in about like 15, 16 months, right?
I know. It seems like we do because we do this, but
We do this.
yeah. Well, lovely. Thanks for, I think it's great that we brought our audience into our excitement to what's happening for next season, because we're really excited about it, and
Yeah.
our artists are too, so.
Yeah. And Jim, you're totally right. I mean, we get emails, you and I, after some of our shows on digital. And some people will ask, like, how do we come up with this? Like, how do we do certain things? And this season, as many people can probably see, is that there are certain restrictions, there are certain considerations. But I think, and I take a page from your book, June, we play the room, right? When if the room gives us a certain type of hum. One time coffee hours were playing in a concert hall where the ventilator was just really, really loud. And so we decided to actually play an improvised hum to that as a drone, and to just get everybody into that space, and then we can move on. There's that feeling that the COVID response, how we come roaring back, there are certain things that we have to do, and there's certain considerations, but can we look at this in an artistic way that still rhymes with everything that we love, that is music in the morning and the ethos of music in the morning?
And also it's going to be live there. You're going to be on stage, and we are participating. You know how our audience participates in their listening anyway. I mean, we are going to be sitting really glued and engaged to hearing all the people that you've chosen to come, because they're very energetic people, and they're wanting to communicate their music very badly. So this is good.
This is going to be great.
Okay.
June, and we should probably just say, people have wondered, June and I are committed to doing these digital checkups with you, with the jam sessions, with Noon June with Zooms. These things are happening into the next year, thanks to June's energy, her leadership, and her her generosity.
Oh, thank you, Adrian. It's my pleasure. It's fun at my age to be an executive producer. I really like that.
Well, more to come, because what you're doing in terms of the donation of your support, your financial support, your energy, your ideas, we're going to see a year that I think is going to be a banner year.
Oh, there's no question. No question. It's just going to be awesome.
Can't wait.
Okay, so bye
Okay.
for now then.
Take care. Bye-bye.